I really enjoy blacksmithing, and part of that joy is making my own tools, like this anvil stand. And now it's time to make another tool. I need to make a hammer rack for it. So let's go make one. We're going to start off with a piece of angle iron to make a frame to go around the top of the anvil stand. I've already measured the front and sides of the anvil stand. And then I've taken those dimensions and transferred them to the angle iron. And now I'm going to cut out the notches at each of those points using an angle grinder with a cutting disc. Once all the notches are cut, then I'll be able to bend the angle iron at those notches to form the frame. When this is done, it will look like they were all miter cuts that are welded together. And I believe that's going to just be more aesthetically pleasing. Now I move on to cutting off the piece that I'm working on. And I realize I've just barely avoided a major disaster. You can see how part of the disc is broken off. Now these discs spin at 11,000 RPMs. And once they break, they could easily come flying apart, sending fragments everywhere. So to be safe, you've always got to be paying attention to what's going on. And now we can make the final notch cut in the frame. Now that all the notches are cut, I need to make relief cuts. I need to do a relief cut at every place I did a notch, and that will allow me to actually bend this by hand. As you can see, as I bend it, it just naturally forms into a frame. Just need to miter cut the two square ends, and we can move on to angle grinding it to getting it ready for welding. I'm MIG welding the corners, so they need to be very clean, and clean means bright and shiny. I'm going to weld that open end first, because once that's joined, then that will set the frame structure, and then I can move on to welding the other corners. For each corner, I'm going to be welding both the inside and the outside to make sure we have a good strong joint. A welder really makes projects like this easy. I'm just using a Harbor Freight titanium flux 125 MIG welder for this. And the great thing about a MIG welder is that it's basically just a hot metal glue gun. And because it is so simple to use, I can use it to build this hammer rack, make bending jigs, or do other projects. And now the most important part of welding up the frame, using an angle grinder to make those welds nice and smooth. The frame may be all welded together, but there's still more welding to do. So let's get the surface clean for that. I formed the first loop using vice jaws as a bending fork, but that's not going to work for the rest of the loops needed. Using vice grips, I clamp it to the frame and weld both sides. Now I can bend the next loop. I'm using a hammer to get a tight bend, and I weld that end in place. Make the next loop using a small sledge head as a bending form, again hammering the other side for a tight fit. This loop is smaller than the first, so I check the fit. It's good, so I weld the other side. At this point, some of you are asking, why build it this way? Why not just screw a bar to the stand like every other blacksmith? And the reason is because the frame is easily removed, so I can add other tool holding features to it, like a brush holder, or fittings to hold whatever tongs I'm using. In the future, I'll also be adding a removable swinging tool tray to hold small tools, such as punches and chisels. Just like any new tool, as I use it, I'll see what works well and, well, what could be improved. I believe using a frame will make it easier to make those changes. I cut off the excess steel and grind it all clean. It's all done, so let's put it on the anvil stand and load it up with some hammers. As you can see, it can hold several hammers and they're right there at hand ready to be used. I must say that I am very happy with the way this turned out. So the next time I'm blacksmithing, I'm definitely not going to be fumbling for hammers. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe.